and welcome to Psychic Street Smarts. I'm Catherine McDonald, and you can always check me out on www.spiritualcat.com. But stick around for the hour because we're talking to Anita Pazicki, and she is the CEO and co-founder of the International Association for Spiritual Entrepreneurs. And I came into contact with you, Anita, and I said thank you for coming on the show tonight and coming out, because you're in St. Catharines, I believe, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So, but you work internationally with people all over through web tools and all kinds of things. We will talk about that. But I came across your email through a mutual friend, and I was like, oh, isn't this a cool idea? So, you know, welcome to the show. And what I'd like to do for the next hour is to talk about what is the organization, your background, things that people might want to know. What I like about what you do is that you're trying to help spiritual entrepreneurs connect with other spiritual entrepreneurs to share their expertise. That's how I understand the organization. Is that correct?
It is. It's part of it. It's actually kind of three parts. One is about the connecting, because you know, you and I have just been chatting before the show started, and as a spiritual entrepreneur, it's hard to find other spiritual entrepreneurs out in the community to help you with your business. Who do you reference to? How can you refer to each other? And so the association, that's one of the things that we want to do, is create a place where everyone can connect, share, and help each other. The other part is around growing, and what are we going to do is we're going to grow their business. We're going to grow their profits, because what I found out there is, in watching all spiritual entrepreneurs, I really see them struggling to grow profitable, successful businesses, you know, that take care of their family, that take care of their community, so they can pay their bills, because they're loving, giving people. And you know that, you know, they really want to make a business out of this, out of whatever modality that they've learned, that they've, you know, that they feel
that they feel drawn to.
They feel drawn to. They feel like they've been given a gift. And it's really heartbreaking for me to watch them try and make businesses, and just kind of some of them don't know where to start, and others don't know where to turn when they're ready for the next stage. So that's kind of where I came up. Well, I didn't come up with the idea, Spirit did, and gave it to me. And I felt like it was the thing I was called to do, is to mix my professional background as an accountant with my new background as a medium and healer, and put those together and create an association where it brought both of them together.
Okay, so you are a professional accountant. That's the other life, and then the more recent incarnation of this life is that you are a medium, a coach, and a minister?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, because I was reading some of your background stuff. Now, they seem like totally different camps to me. Is that an unusual mix for someone?
Pretty unusual, yeah.
Okay.
It's like, and it is. It's like having kind of two people in my body. But you know, astrologically, I think I have four. So two's, you know, the lesser of the evil. But no, I was trained as a chartered accountant, which is the highest level of accountancy in Canada here.
Right.
I graduated from Brock and then finished my accounting degree in 1984, and took a pretty traditional path from there. I worked in public accounting, I worked in government, I worked in industry, and then I kind of rolled back and worked back in public practice to the point where I actually owned my own firm and worked with private clients.
Oh.
Yeah.
So then, how do you make the jump from what I see, the business suit, to the intuitive arts side?
Well, what had happened is, as I was working in the accounting field, I got some very interesting clients that wanted me kind of more one-on-one and in a role. First, we moved from the business, pure accounting, to coaching, and then coaching to ministry. So we'll walk you through about that. As I was working with these clients, what I really found is I enjoyed the business advisory piece. I enjoyed people way more than I was loving the numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, and so through that process, and through, again, the help of Spirit, because I was saying, I really love this piece. How do I do the business advisory piece without doing the accounting? And I found the coaching field. And back then, in 2000, it was still fairly new.
Oh yeah.
Really new. So,
and I remember my thoughts on coaching at the time, because it seemed very scattered. I met a lot of people that, they might have been really good motivational people, but they didn't, I don't know, they didn't seem to have the background I was looking for. If I'd have met someone like yourself who had the business background, boy, could I have used you a few years ago, and I'm sure I still can. But so brings you, like, how did you figure out your spiritual gifts? Because people always want to know that question.
Well, what had happened is, first of all, I came from a family where my mother was very much into astrology. She had used it as a tool to understand my father and others around her. So
I can understand that.
right? I'm X, he's Y, we're nothing the same, why is this such? And so astrology was something that helped her. So I grew up in a house where astrology was very much talked about and taught and read about. So my mother also had dreams. You know, she had a lot of prophetic dreams. She knew when someone was going to pass. She knew when something had happened. And so you grow up as a child having that in your world.
Yep.
And then later, when I was probably already along the path, she became a Reiki master and teacher. So, you know, so my mother kind of laid the groundwork.
How fortunate.
Yes, how fortunate. Now, my sister and I are both, you know, in the same realm. My father was not. And poor him, we picked on him quite a bit, but he couldn't do anything about it. It was 3 to 1. So he used to just shake his head, and the engineer in the front seat of the car would drive.
Poppycock and keep on going.
Right, would just keep on going. So what had happened actually in my accounting career is I was having while I was at the firm, at one of my, a regional firm in St. Catharines, I was struggling with my career. You know, just some of the demands of the career and choices that I had to make.
Yep.
And the senior partner at the firm actually sent me to a local astrologer. He had sent me to Ann Toth, who was a very well-known
The name's familiar to me,
Yes,
Although I've never had...
She ran a radio show in St. Catharines for 12 years.
Yeah, now I know what, yeah.
Anyway, we became very good friends. And I became a client and also just kind of a friend, you know, through the times that I had gone there. So when she started a Kabbalah meditation class, she invited me into her class. And I spent the next 4 years in a wonderful meditation world, learning tarot, Kabbalah, astrology, and how it all worked together. The Kabbalah means to receive God. And it's the Jewish mystic side of the scriptures that explain how to receive God. And I was absolutely fascinated. Coming from a left brain background, what I actually found is I had a difficulty making decisions. Even though it was all logical, if you take the emotional piece out, if you don't have the emotional side, you can't decide what you want. And I had lost some of that in my training and in my extreme accounting-ish brain.
Yeah,
so I had to,
where everything has a protocol and there's a step and a procedure and a check and a balance.
Right. My father was very left-brained, and I had kind of modeled myself after him and taken on that role. And I had to go back and find my right side and my creative side. And the class, the Kabbalah class, was one of the things that did that. And it had opened me up to a whole new world and abilities. And it was in that class other people were getting information. You know, they were seeing spirits and having information come to them, and I was still a little bit blocked. So actually, Anne had sent us down to Lilydale to learn from Reverend Elaine Thomas. And one weekend there, and I was turned on. You know, I had my very first mediumship experience. And from there on, it was that world I needed to know more about it, right? And then a series of events happened in my life. And again, things happen for a reason. You know, we always know.
I believe that.
You know, we know that things in spirit guides us in a certain way. And I had lost, I had 5 deaths within 8 months.
That's a lot.
It was a lot. And one of them was actually also, you know, had to do with a legal case, and there was court proceedings and some other things happening. The other 4 were to do with, you know, loss due to cancer. So I was doing a lot of cancer care that then translated to attending funerals. And at the end, I was, I swooped into quite a deep depression. And in that depression, one of the only places that I felt that I could turn was I had lost Anne. She was one of the 5, one of the 5 that had passed, and I lost my mother within 2 months.
Oh my goodness!
So I'd lost 2 mothers, because that's really
you lost 2 confidants.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd lost 2 confidants, and I had nowhere to turn, and I knew I needed community, and I knew myself, and I needed structured learning, and because Anne had sent us to Lilydale, I looked to that community to replace what I had lost.
Right.
So
you go where you know.
I go where I know, and it's the only place I knew. So I went down, and and I took the spiritual insight training too, because I'd only gone for the one. And then, you know, they ask you if you want to attend the school, the 2-year school. I was in some kind of state, you know, I really wasn't, you know, completely myself at that time. But anytime I thought of not going to the 2-year program, I really was kind of beside myself. And so I felt like, what I understood at that time is, in depression, what I actually figured out is I felt very separated from my spirit.
Oh, of course.
And I was looking to put those two back together. And the school provided me with that option. And through the 2-year process, I really, I mean, I can't speak highly enough about the process. I felt like I was healed and put back together. And at the end, I didn't know I'd actually signed up for a ministry course.
Oops.
Oops. And it kind of became clear while you were there why you would want that particular designation. It has some legal liability protection. It also has some great privileges when it comes to working in hospitals and with people who are in care.
Yeah.
And so I decided to take that option, take the ministry option, and while I was at the end of the course, you know, I really noticed that a lot of people were trying to decide what to do with their ministry option, you know, because you have choices. You can simply serve in a church, but a lot of people were going to go out and hang their shingle and create businesses. They were going to be mediums, they were going to be healers, they were going to go on and take other training and mix the modalities.
Right.
But what I found is there was, first of all, there's several things with spiritual entrepreneurs. You know, just the fear of being public about what they do. You know, that's one of the. I
mean, I hang the shingle, and I have no shame. But I've also been in spiritualism since the early '90s, and I've been at this business for almost 7 years now, the way it's designed. So, but there are times when I have to really think about: do I say I'm a medium, or do I say I'm a psychic, or do I say I'm an intuitive consultant?
Exactly. So
depends on who you're talking to.
Right. So, but what I saw was people had spent a lot of money at very good schools, and we're not just talking about one, it's lots of schools they go to. Right. And then they have this difficulty actually opening a business that can pay the bills, you know, and then more than pay the bills, you know, create the life that they desire.
Right.
You know, and so I thought, this is, you know, I have a business background. I totally believe in what these people do because, you know,
that's how you found your healing.
Well, and that's how I found my healing. I wouldn't be as well. I would have had years and years of, you know, traditional, other kind of counseling and psychotherapies that you know, the particular spiritual healing had brought me, and the sense of community and the people that were in, you know, that I could just see how pure their hearts were in wanting to carry this out, and then it frustrated me to watch that they, you know, they were struggling to put this into a business format.
And that makes complete sense to me. The other thing I find interesting is you talk about having gone through the massive depression and finding your way through that, but in all of this you're observing other people. So one of the things that I thought was interesting, and I kind of snickered as I was reading through the booklet, is the 10 mistakes that entrepreneurs make. What's the biggest one?
The biggest one is that when they don't feel confident in going out and marketing themselves and getting clients, they go out and take more healing courses.
Or more this course or that course.
Reading courses, or more courses of either the modality they already know, you know, and get the next degree up, or a new modality to add to their business card. You've seen those, right? They have, you
they're
know,
a Reiki master, they're this, they're that, and there's like 15 different things.
And that's wonderful to have that background. But the problem is they still haven't learned any business skills. So what I ask them to do, and then in the report, that I offer a free report on the website that lists this number one, and then not just what is the top 10 mistake, but then what do you do about it? Yeah. What I ask you to do is take a break and make a promise to yourself, because change in behavior sometimes takes, you know, a bit of structure and rules and discipline, and making a decision. So make a decision that you're not going to take any more modality courses, and you're going to maybe try and look for the right kind of business course. You know, add something to your business knowledge so you can feel comfortable around marketing yourself or putting yourself out there. And only you can know what that is. Yeah. You know, for yourself, what area.
I came at it from a different route, and there was a business startup program here in Toronto, and because I have a physical disability, I was on ODSP, and they require that you take business, so they had certain service providers. That's how I came through. But what I found is although this group was open, I was alone. I was the only one doing what I was doing.
Right.
You know, in my year of graduation, and it was a 10-week course, and it was 2 days a week in class, and then 3 days a week working on your business, and it was great. But boy, would I have liked to been able to talk to other spiritual entrepreneurs about our industry.
Right. And
which is what I think is the nice thing about what the International Association of Spiritual Entrepreneurs is about.
Exactly, and that's what we found. Right now we're running our first series of courses, and what we're doing is a foundational course right now called Metaphysical Marketing Mastery.
Okay.
And that's a 6-week course that walks people through 4 steps. You know, it walks them through 4 steps to create a thriving, successful spiritual business. And the 4 steps are creating a thriving mindset, and it's definitely, because everything about your business starts up here. It starts with a decision, it starts with how you think about your business, it starts with how you envision it. And we know as spiritual people and how thought
What you
creates,
focus on is what you bring in.
your thoughts create reality. So what we try and do in the course is in every step along the way, we bring the business piece written by business gurus in with, now, how do we bring the spiritual piece in? And so we talk about mindset and those things, and then we also talk about setting intention and working with spirit. Because if you tell spirit where you want to go and very clearly make decisions, they will help you. You know, and so we try and combine those 2 things. First in mindset, and then in the next piece is client attraction funnels, or you can call them marketing funnels, and multiple income streams.
Yeah.
And that, you know, what happens with people that are in a one-to-one service business is that you can burn out pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, how many readings can you do in a day?
Right.
How many healings can you do in a day? How much Reiki can you do in a day?
Right. How many massages? How many
Right.
regression therapies?
It's whatever.
Right. You're selling yourself for the hour. So what we're telling, what that's called in guru business land, is that's called you're being a freelancer. You're always looking for the next gig, and you're doing a one-up. You're always just, you're just one-up, you know, one-on-one, one-on-one, one-on-one. Well, eventually you get tired, you know, and your calendar's full, and you can't fit any more people. So yes, you can raise your prices, you know, but there's a point where you want to serve more people, and you want to provide different levels of yourself at different price points. And so in the funnels and with the multiple streams, we start talking about creating from the beginning of your business, like not as an afterthought, but structuring your business in a funnel format. So we basically start with a free offering, you know, something of value that you tell people over and over again that they want to know from you, that tells people you have, you know, you're credible in this area, you're viable, you know, so that they can read something about you. You can be a video, a downloadable report like I have, which is the top
Blog or whatever.
a blog, but it's something that they have to sign up for. Now, what we recommend is, you know, people these days are on the internet. They're looking for other businesses on the internet, and it doesn't matter even if you work with people locally, they're still going to see if you have a website. They're still going to check you out on the web. So we recommend that you have a place for them to be able to get your free item that starts your funnel, because some people want to know more about you, and they want to, it's called relationship and educational marketing.
Right.
So you give them items of value at low price, 0 and low price points, so that they can get to know you. They can get to trust you, and they can get to communicate with you in that safe environment before they buy from you.
Ah, the beauty of Facebook.
Yeah.
That kind of, you know, developing, you know, and that kind of social networking.
Exactly. So we take you through, so you've got, if you know your funnel and you know some multiple streams that you might want to be tapping into, then as you're creating one-to-one clients, we always want to make sure you're never, you know, creating product and one-to-one clients at the same time.
Yeah, I'm at a stage, I started as a freelancer, I guess, given the term.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it that way, because most of the readers I knew, that's the way they did it.
Right.
And so, and they might have taught in the churches, but they didn't have the prefab or the created materials. And now I'm looking at it going, well, there's only so many hours in a day, and people are asking for things. And so now I'm at that point, but it's really great that you want people to be thinking about that
earlier in their career. Well, we want you to think about anything that you teach or tell, or, you know, what you do over and over again with clients. It's usually a saleable item.
Yeah.
You know, and at very low price points, you know, the $9.99 or the $19,
Yeah.
something that's affordable to people. And then as you get bigger and more well-known, you know, you can have a $47, a $97 item
Yeah.
as you get more and more material together. So if you have the mindset and you kind of a business model, which we call the funnels, you know, in multiple streams, and you kind of understand that, we want you to think about your business as a business. Now I want you to think about your marketing message, okay? Because you know, a lot of people in a spiritual business have a hard time articulating what it is they do. You know, you might say, yeah, I do readings, but you can articulate it now because you've been in the business 7 years.
Oh, I know exactly what
Right.
people want to know.
You know what they want to know.
Yeah.
And what do they want to know?
They want to know what the reading consists of, how long it is, how much I charge, is there a recording, is there any extras, can they get some extra consultation after the fact? There's a whole bunch of things that I did. It's like I have a script that goes off, but it's a conversation, but it's like, here are the things you might want to know before you book the reading. And so, but that took probably a couple years to nail down.
To smooth out and to do eloquently so
Yeah.
that, you know, it just kind of rolled off your tongue. And what happens to also especially new people in the business is articulating what they do. They're not even sure what they do sometimes. You know, they're kind of going, you know, I do readings and I help people, or I have this healing modality, especially when you get to healings, explaining how it works. And
Yes, I had somebody who came in and they were a Reiki person, and they're like, I don't know how to explain it.
and so what we try and do with the classes, and in this particular class, is have you focus on the problem that you solve. Because a lot of times, like when you're trying to market yourself new, what problem do you solve for people, and what dream do you deliver? Because that's what people will buy. They buy a painkiller or they buy a dream. Do you know what I mean? So it's like when they come to
They either want to escape pain or they want to feel good.
That's right. So in marketing language, we try and get you to talk in that language so that you can explain things to them how they want to hear it. You know, if they already know what a reading is and they know they're looking for somebody to do a reading, then they go right to the questions that you're doing.
Yep.
But sometimes, if you're out in a new crowd and you're trying to explain what you do to a more general population, how do you explain what a read? You know, well, you know what? So we give them a formula of how, and it starts with, well, you know how some people, you know, are looking for guidance in their life, right?
Yep.
And so you give them some really, not generic, but what I want to say is languaging, so that they can describe what they do in a maybe non-regular, in a regular environment.
But yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When they're
without
in a
without all the new age jargon.
Right, because sometimes if you put the jargon in, then you lose people.
Because there's
Right.
Yeah.
And other times you need to put the jargon in because they only know you by that. And I find some of the mediums add the word psychic medium because people only know, you know what I mean? Because
that was a sticky bugaboo for me.
It is.
But it turned out that that's the way I actually work. I do both sides.
Right.
So it worked out. We'll take a little bit of a break. We're with Anita Pazicki, and she is the CEO and founder of the International Association of Spiritual Entrepreneurs. Where do they find you online?
They can go directly to our website. It is www.iaseconnect.com.
Okay.
Okay, and the connect is because that's what we want to do, is we want to connect with people.
Excellent. Excellent. So we'll take a bit of a break, and we'll be back shortly.
Okay. Let's go.
Welcome back. We're on Psychic Street Smart on thatchannel.com. You can always check me out at www.spiritualcat.com. I'm Catherine McDonald, and we're here with Anita Pazicki. She is the CEO and founder of the International Association for Spiritual Entrepreneurs. And you want to give them the website again?
Yeah, it is www.IASEconnect.com.
Okay. Now, we've been talking about spiritual entrepreneurs like everybody knows what it is. How do you define it? Because I know what I think it is, and I have an idea what you think it is, but...
I tend to think of it in quite a broad way. And it's actually, what if the person considers themselves to be a spiritual entrepreneur? And what I kind of say is, if you consider yourself to feel like you're guided, do you know what I mean? That you feel like you're guided by spirit, the universe, God, the divine, whatever your terminology is for it, then I would consider that you'd be a spiritual entrepreneur, and that our association would be a welcome place for you.
Yeah, because I don't want people to get the sense that, oh, you have to be a Reiki master, or you have to be a psychic, or you have to be whatever.
It's interesting, and I was going to say the other side of it is, if you do use a modality in your work that is connected to spirit,
yeah.
Then you generally know that you're a spiritual entrepreneur.
Right.
But I've gone to a lot of business conferences in researching a lot of the material that we teach, and I will always ask people, so are you a spiritual entrepreneur? Even if they're a real estate agent, they'll go, yes, I am. Because I feel like I look to spirit for guidance. And
to help help that person get that space or place that they want. Yeah.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And so therefore, no one really is left out. It's their definition of whether they think they belong.
Self-identifying.
It's self-identifying. Some people really know, and other people, what I'm finding is more and more people consider themselves spiritual.
That makes sense.
They're searching for that connection in their business too, because you'll find a lot of mainstream. I'm sure you get a lot of mainstream accountants and lawyers and professionals that come to you for guidance, and they would have to consider themselves, at least on a spiritual bend, to be open to
even come for a reading or come for a healing or whatever it is they're coming for.
Right.
So how are the spiritual entrepreneurs? How are they similar? How are their businesses similar to mainstream business?
Well, the first thing is they are a business. They're not a hobby. They're not and I know they like to think it's a calling. Do you know what I mean? And that's part of it. But when you really back it up, they're a business. They have to meet. They have to work within tax legislation. They have to understand the structure of a business. They have to understand, how a basic business is laid out and run, how to do marketing, how to close a sale. Those are how to manage their time. Even more importantly for spiritual entrepreneurs, how to manage their energy, right? Because, and this is the same in every business. I work with a lot of accountants and lawyers, and they need to learn how to manage their energy. Because time is one thing, but how you choose what to do and who you choose, boundaries and barriers and who to work with, that doesn't matter what business you're in. So the structure of what makes a business successful is still all traditional. So everything you read out there, and I'll talk about Michael Gerber. He has one of the best books out there called it's called The E-Myth, Why Most Small Businesses Fail and What to Do About It. Everything he says in there applies to, a spiritual business, a spiritual entrepreneur. And it's all about that you can't just be the technician. You also have to be the business owner and the entrepreneur. You have to wear many hats, because if you're just the technician, the business never gets worked on. You're only ever working in the business, not on the business.
Yeah,
right?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So when you look at how they are, different, how are they different?
How they're kind of different is they actually sometimes don't even know they went into business.
I can understand.
Do you know what
that.
I mean?
You start doing a few readings to make a few bucks to pay the bills, and all of a sudden you get a full roster and you need to know how to claim taxes.
Right. And usually it's I have a few friends that ask me to do readings, and I really love this, and I'd love to quit my job over here. How do I get a full roster so that I can worry about my taxes?
Yeah.
Right? And so they kind of fall into businesses instead of it someone goes, I want to open a restaurant. It's a
Right.
brick and mortar kind of thing. There's a really conscious decision. And so what happens is a lot of times they have a desire, but it's never really formulated. And that's also a problem, because when you work with spirit, when you're on that wishy-washy end. I follow some work done by Archangel Gabriel, and Gabriel says, you people, this is an archangel talking through a channel or talking to us going, you can't keep one decision from breakfast to lunch. How are we supposed to help you? Right? And, and that's what happens, especially with spiritual people, because you're guided. Well, you're guided here and you're guided there, and
call it a magpie syndrome. The head does a 360 while they're going down the road seeing 16 different things they want to be in touch with.
We either call it squirrel, the dog that runs after the squirrel, or the shiny syndrome, right? So
yeah, that's magpie.
Is that magpie? Yeah.
I had a girlfriend of mine who was a she's also a psychotherapist, and she'd be driving down, and we went to class together. I went through transformational arts, so like you went to Lilydale, you went to Fellowship of the Spirit.
Fellowships, yeah, Fellowship of the Spirit.
And like I went to transformational arts here in Toronto, and she'd be driving home, and her head would be doing a 360, and I'm like, eyes on the road, I don't want to die. But I used to tease her, but she could do that, but she couldn't focus on this stuff here that was right in front of her. She'd be all over the place. So I do, yeah.
And so because usually what they do, if you're working in a modality that's very right-brained, structure isn't always your strong point. The accounting, the having a system to bring your leads in, thinking about, oh geez, I've taught this 12 times, I should really make that into a product. But where's my notes? I'm allowed to have a web designer. I don't have to do it all myself. That's another problem. They try and do everything themselves and not understand that there's a team.
You'll be in charge. Yeah. It starts out at a necessity. Necessity being the mother of invention, but no, I guess the idea is knowing when you need to start delegating some of that stuff and hiring people. When do you hire the bookkeeper? When do you hire the web designer? How much do you hire? That kind of thing.
And making those decisions. And what happens is you have to look at the opportunity cost of that time spent doing something someone else could do.
And much quicker,
much better,
more professionally.
Right, and not in that tired state at 3 o'clock in the morning while you're trying to post something up on your website, right? Because you can't get it to work. So and other people do that too. I mean, traditional business people do it too, but it tends to be quite strong in the spiritual entrepreneur, because they're trying to do a lot of things on a shoestring.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's and what a lot of people do is they hide doing some of those administrative things, behind the site. But you're busy building a website for 6 months before you put yourself out there, and it's really just a stalling mechanism. Because
oh yeah, I've seen that. I'm like, okay, enough already. Get it up, get a one-page up, get something up, get started.
Right.
And then when you have more money, get something else up. I started with 1 or 2 one-pagers.
Right. Exactly.
And my necessity was the bills were biting my bum. I had to get paid because I didn't have a choice. I had to make rent money that month.
Right.
And I said, okay, Spirit, I guess we're in with, throw me in with the lions. Okay. Whereas I didn't have time to think about it. It was really necessity. Now, I was fortunate because I had a lot of experience with the internet. I had a background in education, and then I had some health problems and I couldn't go into that field. I spent a number of years off work trying to renegotiate. So I was spending time on the web dealing with my depression. You talk about depression. I went through a massive, massive period of depression, but the internet kept me from totally isolating. And so I learned a lot of the things that then became tools. Because, oh, how's that work? Play with that for an hour. And so I was fortunate that way, but I think for a lot of people, you come into it and it's just enough to know how to do what you do or what your service is. And then, what do you mean I got to do social networking? What do you mean I got to do a blog? What do you mean I got to
I just
chain down to email? I just want to do readings.
I just want to do healing. Right. Yeah. I just want to do what I want to do. And that's where, if you're not interested, you need not learn all the time. There is people out there, and that's what we're trying to do in the association, is actually create an affordable base of web designers, graphic designers, virtual assistants, accountants, everybody and anybody that you would need to service your business that understands the spiritual entrepreneur, because
Right.
it's much easier for us to go to someone that understands what we do,
Right.
without having to explain it, or if they just understand our world, it's so much easier. They
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, and they're out there. But even when I was I opened this association in the summer of 2011, and I went out and looked for a spiritual graphic person and a spiritual web designer. Almost non-existent doing an Elance and Google search. Found a few more closer to 2012, but it's funny, it was really, really hard to find, and you would think that the demand is out there, but they're not advertising themselves that way. So one of the things we teach in the 6-week program, the Metaphysical Marketing Mastery, is about picking target markets.
Yeah.
If you have a particular area of focus, if you have certain kind of clients that come to you all the time, or you're interested, as a reader, as a medium, you like a certain kind of client to come to you versus another kind of client. There's certain areas, that you like to deal with. And like, I'm not big on, predicting the future, because you can't, right? And I like to work, if I am doing readings, in areas where people have lost somebody, and that it's around usually a grief area.
My preference is the bereavement and grief. I like to
Yeah.
do the mediumship connection. I will do the predictive stuff because I apparently have a knack for letting them see the glimpses. But
Right.
there's no one path. So I'm not saying to them, this will happen. I'm saying, here are the opportunities. What are
Yeah.
you going to do with it?
Right.
So it depends on how you slice the bread and butter it, basically.
Right. Exactly. But when you are, especially when you're new in the business and you don't have a following and you haven't created a following with something like a show like this, it's much easier to start to work with a particular target market. And you're
Right.
thinking, well, no, then I'm leaving people out. I'm gonna exclude people. And what we're saying is, no, just for marketing, just for your message, just for where you're going to be focusing.
How are you positioning yourself?
Right.
You're talking about professional positioning.
Professional positioning, as in, talk about massage therapists. And I'm going to use that as an example because there's a big area in golf that uses massage therapy. So if you have, you want to work with golfers, they definitely have the money to pay. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're willing to spend it on themselves because they want to keep themselves in tip-top shape. They spend a lot of money on their sport. And so if you're a new massage therapist, golf might be an area that you might want to market in.
Yeah.
We're using that as an example.
Yeah.
As a reader, if you were, or even a healer, if you're going to work in Reiki and those areas, you might be wanting to work in cancer care. Be an alternative therapy that works with people who are already in the regular stream.
Yeah.
And there's places like Wellsprings, where they allow you to come in and do Reiki
Yeah.
for their organization. You then can create private clients. But if you enjoy working with that kind of client, then then you'll know where to find them.
Yeah.
Where to market to them. Where to put your advertising material. Instead of shooting out everywhere.
And trying to be everything to all people.
Right. Pick something to start with. And that doesn't mean that someone from somewhere else isn't going to come, or you're going to say, oh, I see that, we use one example in the class around readers, that they specialize in doing career readings for men. Okay? That is like a target market. Well, let's say you've done a reading for a gentleman, and you say to them, now, if you've enjoyed my service, I also ask for about referrals. You always ask the current clients that enjoyed, working with you, would there be anybody else that you know? And then you let them know at that time. Now, I do more than career. I also do, do relationship and
Yeah.
work on bereavement and all those other things. And then, say to them, but it was easier to market to one target because that everyone looking at a career are on those big portal websites. Do you know what I mean? They're looking at the same kind of information. Their eyes are in a certain place
Yeah.
when they're looking for career information, and you want to be there.
When I started out mostly doing the relationship stuff because most people will stay in a crappy job, but if their crappy relationship is not doing well, that's the thing that gets changed first. So and I hated doing them because it's like it's a very heavy energy. It's very frustrating. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of stuff. And then 2008 came along, and I was doing all this career stuff. And then I found out what really heavy energy was about. And I went, oh, the career stuff would be a breeze. Can I get back to that place? But what I learned is that I sort of did I call it the Madonna thing. I sort of remade myself as I went along. What are people needing? What are the readings coming into? Right. And I asked for the guidance of that. But if you're into something like that, you have to be able to be multifaceted, and it takes you a while to figure that out.
Yes, but you do want to see what's coming to you. I mean, that's one of the first things you do when you're researching a target market. What's already coming to me? What does the universe seem to be bringing?
Have a look at what's coming.
Right, having what's coming, and then look at the economy. What are people looking for? So we do start with a list of places where people are actually spending their money. Relationships, careers, building businesses.
Now, I was fortunate also that I also do the party circuit. I do like the corporate and the large events. I made it that way because I figure when times are bad, they're going to come for counseling and the individual stuff. And when times are good, they're going to want to have a good time. So you hit both markets. And I don't remember how that came about.
It just came about.
Right. And it would have been nice to sort of have a bit of more structure.
More of a plan around
it. Right. Right. So we're talking about the top 10. What's another one that is really, really important?
Well,
I know they all are.
They all are.
What do you find that is the most?
Well, the one thing, I'm looking at them and they're all kind of important. Let's talk about not charging your worth.
That's the one I was hoping you'd get to.
Yeah, not charging your worth. And I mean, this does happen in other businesses, in non-spiritual businesses, but it tends to be more prevalent here. Because people have gone into generally they're taking a modality that is of a service base. Do you know what I mean? They really feel like they're giving of service. They're doing a divine, working with the divine, working with spirit, and there's a real giving. Do you know what I mean?
And they feel it's a gift to them, so how dare they charge?
And that is and you will meet people that will never charge. They'll never charge for it.
And they look at you like you've got two heads because you do.
Exactly.
And I always say to them, well, I have to eat, so unless Spirit wants to work out a different plan.
Exactly. Give me some lottery money or something like that.
Yeah, then I'm willing to do it for free.
And what we try and do is separate the two pieces. There is always the piece, first of all, there's the piece that pays the bills.
Right.
And that's where you have to charge what you're worth, or else you will burn out. Because if you're not charging enough per hour, for whatever modality that you're doing, you will burn out very, very quickly.
Because you're going to have to do a whole bunch more of whatever you're doing in order to make the ends meet.
You will also be bitter and resentful.
Right.
And you will pretty quickly, kind of go back to a traditional job.
Yeah.
And kind of, kick your feet and say this isn't working, or you can't make a business out of this.
Yeah.
A lot of it's got to do with the mindset. It's got to do with understanding what you're worth, researching your market, and holding your prices. Even when people were going to argue with you.
Oh.
They're going to, because they are. They're going to.
Oh, yeah.
And you've been there.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is set your prices. What I have them do is actually create a file, kind of a feel-good file about every time that they work with a client. This is especially when they're new, but even when you're not new, because sometimes you have really bad days, and you need a kind of a pick-me-up. A file of testimonials, especially when
it's
you're
right on my website. And there are days I go back and I have a look and think, oh, yeah, even still.
I do know what I'm doing. Yeah.
I should be here.
I should be here. This is what I should be doing. And so I asked them to keep this file, whether it's on the website or it's with you, because sometimes, especially when you're doing work in the beginning of your business, sometimes it's for a girlfriend rate or the less rate. What do you want to get? Everything is an exchange of energy.
Right.
So even when you're giving a low cost or no cost service, you want to get a testimonial written. You want to get it, in a format, and you don't just want to go, oh, it was lovely working with Anita. No, you want them to have a specific testimonial about what you got out of the
session.
Whatever, yeah. What did you find most valuable? How did it constructively help you? So you help guide them how you want the testimonial written. The other things you want to keep in is the special notes. People will send me, Christmas cards, or they'll send little notes about what they really value about you that you didn't really know about. Because I actually have, one of the things I ask you to do is to interview your current clients to find out what they really get out of your services, because you'll be surprised. You know, there's
I'm very fortunate. I have mine are very vocal, and they will say thank you, and they will phone, or they will Facebook, or they will send an email. I mean, I probably have 3 years worth of testimonials on the website, and they are not current right now. There are more on the pile to go up, but I'm just trying to get
that
be
in
situated. But the point is, I'm very, very fortunate. But I have, when someone has done that, I usually will write them back and say, can I use this? Can, you know, I will use only your first name with no location, or first name and location, or whatever you feel comfortable with.
Right.
And most people have been very gracious. But I, like anything else, I fell into that.
And you fell into it, and it's 7 years later, and you've been in business for a while. But for especially those people starting out, I mean,
They don't know that they should do that.
they don't know that they should do that. It's, you know, it is an exchange of energy. They're okay to ask for those testimonials. It's how they build their business. And they're like, you have to have clients to get testimonials, so you have to be doing work. And then there's a point you've got to transfer over into, you know, what you're worth and fully paid. And I ask people to take it up in increments. So do you know what I mean? Work, if you're only comfortable at working at, you know,
I started at 50 for half an hour. I'm now up to 70. I haven't moved it a lot because the clientele I want to serve, their cost of living is in that certain range, right? And I do have a range of clients. I have some of them that are living in, you know, the posh hotel downtown, and they're business people, and they travel all over the world. And I have the average person who's working a regular 9-to-5 job or whatever. So kept it, you know, $70 for a half hour, you know, whatever the price is. But I started it a lot less, and I found out I couldn't maintain the bills I needed to pay and do the number of hours needed. You had to find out what your billable hours are.
Right. What we actually ask you to do is decide, you know, do a budget on how much you need to make, right? So how much do you actually work backwards? You know, how much do you need to make to pay the bills, create a savings account, pay your taxes, have a reserve, and then how many hours do you have to work, you know, if you don't have products yet, and then divide that by. You know, we actually get you down to an hourly rate, and know that you don't have 8 hours of working time in a day.
Oh, no.
No, it's usually about 4.
Yeah.
So one of the first exercises that we take you through is walking through a realistic annual goal down to an hourly goal. So you know what you should be
And I did that at the point where I thought that working for whatever the price was at the time was enough, and then I realized, no, I'm undervaluing myself, because clients would say, geez, you're cheap.
Oh, that's another,
You know, and
if your clients are telling you you're cheap, that's a really good indication that
you need
should
to
be
move
raising.
the price point up.
Right.
But what I don't know if you find this as well, is there's this whole thing, there are two camps in the spiritual realm. There are those that think they should be able to charge something, and there are other, well, you're spiritual, why shouldn't you do it for free? And so this is where, do you find that that's where some of the entrepreneurs have a conflict, where they're being told by people, well, that's not very spiritual of you to expect me to pay for it?
Right, and this is where you need to separate. As we started that conversation, you need to have a business, and if this is your business, this is just like owning a restaurant or doing anything else. Everyone expects those to be profitable, right? Or you would, you know, they'd look at you kind of crazy if you were running.
What are you doing?
What are you doing running a non-profitable restaurant, right? It'd shake your head. Well, and so you should be running a profitable business. Then is your spiritual giving ministry piece. You know, we all have the ability, and what a lot of people do is they have a special number of readings, healings, whatever their modality is, that they give at a lower or a no cost.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I run that through the church.
A scholarship.
That's where if somebody says, I really can't afford your rate, well, I'm going to be at da-da-da church on this Sunday, and you can get a bit of a message there if you want to come out, or they're having a psychic day, and they do it for this price, and that way they're still contributing to something. But if they can get a 20-minute reading for $25.
Right, and so you give them other places to go to get that information.
Where I'm working, or where I'm in touch. And so that, I think, I want people to understand that we do realize that you need to give something back, and there is some volunteerism, but we're in business. Just like they get paid by their boss. And what I usually say to those people is, well, your boss calls you up and says, I need you to work 4 extra hours, but I'm only going to pay you for 2, because you're not going to do it.
Right. And so, therefore, there needs to be a level of understanding and respect. And that's, you know, another one we get to with boundaries. One of the other mistakes is about boundaries. And, you know, when you're in business, you have to set really strong, firm boundaries, or else you won't be in business very long, because you will get bombarded.
What kind of boundary issues come up? Because I know what I've experienced, but what kind of boundary issues do you find out with spiritual entrepreneurs?
Any entrepreneurs, especially spiritual entrepreneurs, are things like office hours. Do you know what I mean? When you're available, just because you do this kind of business, which is, you know, might be out of your home, people assume that you're available 24/7, you know, and that
Don't
they
I
can
know
call
that?
you, and that they can call you on a Saturday night at 8 o'clock to see if you're open for a reading or, you know, a service that you provide. So therefore, you have to be really clear. You need to set your office hours on your website. You need to leave it on your phone message,
Yeah.
and you need to not pick up. And you need to be, you know, quite firm, saying that's, you know, if you do pick up office hours, it might just be to tell someone that you don't. This is not the time to call. You know, and I leave it on my message. I actually,
Yeah, I do too.
I leave it on my message. You know what it just says? If this is a business call, it'll be returned during business hours.
And these are the hours.
And these are the hours. And no apology needed. And people will get, and if you have people that, you know, can't respect that, then
They're the wrong client.
they are the wrong client. Because you do need to be particular, especially when you're doing energy work, you know, about what energies you're working with. You know, you want to be, because
You want to be with people that you like and that you think you can actually make a, you know, help in their process. Now, if they're that stuck that they can't even respect your boundaries and they're not listening to you saying, look, my office hours are this time to this
Right.
time, this day to this day, they're not going to hear anything else that you got to say in
Right.
whatever you're doing, or they're not going to be able to access the benefit of the treatment
that you're given.
that you're providing or whatever it is.
Right, because you need to be able to work within office hours, because the other part is having a balance with your family, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And
A
you know,
personal life.
that you have to have a personal life.
Even if it's only your cats,
Exactly.
you know?
Right, but you need to know when your time is, when you're off, when you're on, when you're, you know, when you're, and again, your business, just like we know, if you give it 24 hours, it will take 24 hours.
Right.
Everything will expand to the amount of time given. So I teach a lot of time management
Yeah.
in both non and spiritual
I
realm.
learned that the hard way.
Yeah, and
When
so,
I think about the hours I first posted on the website, I must have been insane. 9 to 9, 6 days a week.
that's right. And so that means you just have to be available. And you might have morning appointments and then late appointments with chunks in between.
Yeah, now I do the 1 to 7.
Right.
You know, Tuesday to Saturday, and that, you know, that gives, and
It
that,
gives-
you're still going to get the calls, you're still going to get all
That's
that,
right.
but you know, gives you permission not to pick up that phone.
Permission to be off, to
Yeah.
be working on your business,
Or
permission to be
doing other things.
personal. Yeah, because your energy, you know, whenever you're on, what I call on, you know, and alert for, you know, the call, the this, the that, you're not in a relaxed state. So, you know, you're not letting yourself recover from when, if you're on all the time, you're just going to burn out very, very quickly. So the other boundaries are around your rates, you know, and understanding, you know, what you do in your business and what you don't do. You know, you don't want to try and be everything to everyone, because usually you won't be competent in that area, in all areas.
I've often said to people, well, I do this, but you'd be better to find someone who does it full time.
Right.
You know?
And in certain modalities, you're better off to send them off to a specialist, or if you feel uncomfortable with their situation. And know that some of those referrals are going to come back, you know, that when you're working with people in your spiritual community, that, you know, that if you send business, and that's another thing, is, you know, there should be an abundance you know, mentality. You know, if most of us have trained in spiritualism and in, you know, in any of the thought creates reality, everything they tell you about is, you know, if you think abundance and if you live abundance, then abundance will come to you. If you think restriction and, oh no, I've got to keep everything to myself, right, and I can't share, you know.
That's what we were talking about, I guess, prior to the show, was
Yeah.
about the competitiveness that sometimes come up where people are feeling threatened or they're feeling insecure.
Right.
And it does get in the way of the abundance, for sure.
It
for
does.
Sure.
And because, you know, if you deal with someone else in your business that does good quality work, and you have someone you can't handle or don't feel comfortable handling, you'll pass it off if you know that it's going to come back, you know,
Yeah.
be reciprocal.
And it could be just that you don't have time to fit them in and they really need that reading today because they're going to Europe tomorrow or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And so...
Or you've come down with a flu for a week and you
Yeah.
don't want to disappoint your clients, you know.
I offer it, and now usually clients will say, no, I'll wait until you're back, you know, you know, whatever. But I do, when I am off for an extended period, I'll say I can send you to someone else.
Yeah.
If you really need the reading, and oh no, I can wait a couple of days.
Right.
Or if they need it, then I can give them a couple choices of people to call.
Right, right.
But, you were talking about the abundance mentality. You know, what I've found is a lot of people have a fear-based thinking around money. So is it something wrong with the way that we think about money?
It's really interesting because in the 6-week course, one of the decisions that we ask you to make right up front is to get clear on whether you have a fear around your business or around money. And I think it's just one of those, there's so much material, you know how much material there is out there on clearing your blocks around money, and it seems
do you think that's a Western thing, or do you think that that is just like a thing across the board? Or
I don't know much about the other countries. I know it's definitely very Western. You know, and everything we do is based on $1. Your value is based on $1. You know, the first thing people ask you is, what do you do?
Yeah, what do you do for a living?
What do you do for a living? So that's your identity, and that's based on, and then people quickly go calibrate, oh, well then you make this much, and so your social standing.
Oh, you're an accountant, so you must make, or you're a lawyer, you must make, oh, you're a bookkeeper, or you're cleaning staff, you make, you know, whatever. Yeah.
Right, and so I think, and we've grown up, and most people, unless you came from a silver spoon in your mouth, you know, have experienced struggle around money, and it's not a wonderful feeling. No, so most people have struggled around money, and even when they're struggling, don't want to be struggling, but don't know how to get themselves out of it. Do you know what I mean? It's a fearful place.
It is a fearful place.
Yeah.
So, you know, what I'd like to do is take another quick break.
Okay.
We're listening, you're watching and listening to Psychic Street Smarts. I'm Catherine McDonald, and you can always check me out on www.spiritualcat.com, and of course here on thatchannel.com. We are talking to Anita Pazicki, and she is the CEO and what's your title?
Founder
and CEO of the International Association of Spiritual Entrepreneurs, and we're just talking about some of the things, and then we'll come back after and we'll talk about where they can find and what kind of materials you're producing and that stuff. So we'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay. Welcome back to Psychic Street Smarts. I'm Catherine McDonald, and we're on thatchannel.com. You can always check me out at www.spiritualcat.com, and we are talking to Anita Pazicki, the founder and CEO of the International Association of Spiritual Entrepreneurs. Now, we've been talking about the types of things that business people, spiritual entrepreneurs or otherwise, should know about their businesses, but you specifically specialize with those that are in spiritual type businesses at this point for this particular organization. Yeah. And so what is the association offering, and what's going on right now? Like what's up and coming?
Okay, well, what we're doing right now is, like I said, we only started in June of last year, and it took me a little while to get the website out and getting everything put together. And what I did was I created with a friend of mine, Jamie Saloff. She's in publishing, so she brings a publishing experience with her. And we have a course, a 6-week online virtual course every Wednesday. It started in February, and it is called Metaphysical Marketing Mastery. And what that does is it's a foundational course that gives you kind of all the foundations of how to create 4 steps to take your spiritual business from surviving to thriving.
Right.
Okay? And we talked about a little bit of it earlier. Number 1 is mindset. Then we cover marketing funnels and multiple streams of income. Then we cover the marketing message. That's when we were talking about the target market and how to explain what you do in a way that people understand, this solves my problem. And yes, I need what you do.
Right.
The last piece we didn't talk about much was tools. We've kind of skirted around it.
Oh, we got chatting about something else.
Right.
So what are the tools?
The tools are things that people are interested in, like we've been chatting about, but it would be called a marketing tool. People know a business card is a marketing tool. But in this day and age, a website is a marketing tool.
Right.
Right? And so what kind of website do I need? Where do I,
how do I do that?
How do I do that? Where does they don't know what hosting is. Sometimes they do. Where should I host it? What kind of website builder should I use? Do I hire someone? Do I not hire someone? What's the basic minimum 5 pages do you need? And then we also cover what's the one secret item, and this is marketing language, right? So you have to come to the course to find out what the secret item is that you have to have on your website. Now what that does is it creates some kind of anticipation of what is that secret item. Now I'm going to share it with everyone, and because we've talked about it, it's the free offer.
Yeah.
People don't give out their email address anymore just for any reason. Do you know what I mean? Because we're getting bombarded by a lot of email.
A lot of junk that you don't need.
Right. And so what it's recommended that you do is give them something of real value that lets them really understand what you do in your business. And it could be a white paper, it could be a research study, it could be a certain...
It could be a link to a certain specified group or blog or something that's specialized for those people who've expressed an interest.
Right.
That's not necessarily completely public, but it's, you know what I mean?
Right, you have to sign up to get it.
Yeah, it's like a membership.
Right, a series of 3 videos on something you teach about, or on the modality that you do. That you've put it into video format, videos, using videos on your website, how, the strength of using videos and how they affect the Google search. So tools, videos are a big tool that we talk about. How to use books. How to use books. I mean, everyone wants to be an author. So how do you become an author without a publishing house? So we cover using books as a business card, and there's a lot of ways that you can create a book these days, upload it to a service, and have a book
ebook, on you can do audio, you can do all kinds of
podcasting. So we start to talk about some of the tools, and then the other big one is social media tools.
Yeah.
How to use Facebook for business, how to use LinkedIn, and how to use Twitter. And some of the tools that help you manage those, because once you get into the social media world,
like, I need a life.
I need a life.
And one of the best things you'll find is, like the TweetDeck or Manager. There's management tools, and a lot of that stuff you find out by hook and by crook. And it would be nice to be able to say these are really good, useful tools, and these are beneficial tools, and these might be helpful. And here's some good products that are out there.
And so what we do in the 6 weeks is we cover, all of these 4 steps and a lot of these tools. Now, they're even hard to cover in such a short time. So
also, things change, so you'll be updating, I'm sure, as new things come out.
Exactly. So if you take the course, which runs, right now it's running Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock, and it runs as 6 weeks in series with 1 week in between for a break to give people some time to catch up on their homework. Because it's an interactive and active course. I mean, you could just simply come on, learn the material, and use it at a later date. That is a big benefit of it. Let's say you can't apply it all right now, because there is a lot of information. the other thing is we provide, when you take the course, a Facebook group. So everyone that's on the course is working together, giving each other feedback, sharing resources. We have a resource page that's constantly growing. So everything we talk about in class and every class before this class will be on the resource page. So it's a growing list, and you'll have access to that for at least, because you said everything changes and we might change things, so for at least 6 months to a year. You'll have access to that once you've taken the course. And then there'll be other products. So this is our first, basically our kind of roll out introductory, get yourself...
This is the pilot project, the first run of it.
Right, and what'll be happening is we're going to run this over and over again. So if someone's interested in knowing more about the association or in this particular course, knowing they might want to take it in the future, what I recommend is they go to the website and they sign up for the free report. What they're going to get is a 16-page book here.
Yeah, I was surprised. I started printing it out and I went, wow. And but it's not just the problems, it's simple solutions to make you think about what you have to be thinking about in order to make sure you're not doing that mistake.
Right, and so this kind of gets you to think about your perspective and think about your business differently by reading the free report. Then if that does resonate with you, then come look at what you're also going to do when you get the free report is get on our newsletter list. And we promise not to bombard you with sale tactic after sale tactic. What we're going to do is give you value. We're going to give you bits and pieces of what's in the class and things that come to our, that we learn. As we learn them, about list building, about great resources, we're going to share them out to the newsletter audience. And then we're going to let you know about when the next class is running. And also when the membership piece of our association is going to be active and running. Because one of the things that I learned in running, I took a course on running an association because I didn't know anything about running an association. And members are very, they love the connection, but they also love information. And if you belong, and it's also a sense of belonging. So what we're going to do is open up a membership piece for a reasonable price of $127 a year. There's going to be a piece where you can be part of a community, and you can get trainings, at least 12 free trainings a year, 1-hour trainings on each of these specific tools. We're going to have an expert in on Facebook, an expert in on Twitter, an expert in on blogging, on using videos, okay? So this is all going to be included in your membership price. There'll also be, we're creating products and programs, other specifics that as people want things, we'll create them. But in your basic membership, you're going to get some really good training from experts in the industry. You want to go learn more, you can actually go over and learn with them. If you really like what they're saying, you want to become really excellent at videos, you want to take a whole video course, then we'll tell you where to go take that course, by bringing the experts in. We're also going to create a sense of community, so a special Facebook page, a special resource page, a place where you can find each other, and work together.
That's really, really important. I liked the concept because when I started out, like I said, I started with a traditional business startup program, which was wonderful, but I was it. Yeah. And they were all doing like vastly different things. Now there might have been a lot of people that felt spiritually guided to do what they were doing, but they weren't marketing themselves as spiritual entrepreneurs. You had some that were doing completely different businesses. And so I felt very alone. And so I reconnected with the churches, and then I sort of, where do you go? You go back to what you know. So this is kind of a nice venue to have a professional association connection to resources and to people. So I commend you for that.
Well, and it's also something that people looking for a professional look to their website, can say, I belong to an association. It adds credibility, that they've taken some training and they do belong to an association that has, that stands up for some principles in business. Yeah. So that if you belong to an association that has, of spiritual entrepreneurs, that's a business-based association.
It's the same as the letter stamp with the Better Business Bureau. And if you fit in with their criteria, and these kind of things matter.
They do. When people have a million different choices to pick from. And
give them something that's going to help them choose you.
Right. So you will have a members crest that you can put on your website. In the beginning, we're going to have founding members. So if you're one of the first, 100 or 200, you'll actually get to have a founding members crest on your website, and that'll stay forever. So we're working on that, and we'll hope to roll that out next summer. But to find out about all of these things as they roll out is to sign up for the newsletter. So to go to www.iaseconnect.com, and you'll see right at the top, beside my face,
Yeah.
there's my
I've been
face.
on the website, it's well put together, and it was very easy to find things.
Right, and that's one thing we recommend is don't make it difficult for people to sign up for your newsletter, and your free offer. Because if they have to find it on page 42,
They're not going to look.
they're not going to look and they're not going to be there. So you want to make it easy. So it's up in our header. And we promise, and we use a very sophisticated system. So if you choose to unsubscribe at any time, our system cannot send you email. So you want to go off our list, you want to come back on our list when you
Funny, because I was just going to ask you, I'm in the transition of changing emails, so I'm going to have to, I'll have to unsubscribe the one and resubscribe another, because I'm changing locations,
Right.
and one service provider doesn't serve and the other, it's just
Right.
schmozzle.
Right, so because you're not using a domain name, or are you using a domain
Well,
name?
no, I signed up with another Rogers email,
Right.
but I just, because of the stuff I wanted to make sure
Right.
got to me,
Yeah.
and I had a whole bunch of computer issues at the time, which have now been resolved, so I do get all of the stuff from my
Right.
business website, but those are things that I don't necessarily want to be mixed in with the ones where they book appointments. I'm trying to separate it out to keep myself sane. So
Right, and those are actually, and what we're talking about is time, energy, and productivity tips.
Yeah.
We try and cover those too. Is now I'm getting a ton of email. How do I keep it separate? How do I use folders? How do I use different email addresses so that I can see what's from clients?
where everything is coming from.
Right, where everything's coming from. How do I keep all that Facebook, social media stuff outside so I can see the clients and address that and get to this when I have time?
Yeah.
Right. So we get basic questions in the course.
Yeah.
We had one gentleman that had never signed up for Facebook before, and so we had to give him a video of how to sign up for Facebook, and he's actually one of the biggest posters now.
Oh,
so
sure.
he learned a whole new skill and applied it in 3 weeks.
Oh, great.
So
Great.
we are getting really good feedback from
So
the
what
course.
is some of the feedback that you're getting from the...
We're actually getting that the content, people are just wowed by the content. Some of the things they've never heard of, like the funnels, using a strategy and thinking about your business beforehand, and thinking of products and services that go together and that feed each other. Because what we want you to do is start with low-cost products and funnels and take them down into your higher prices,
Yeah.
so that you have something available for everyone.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And I'm glad that like I said, we met quite by, I'll say fluke, but I think it's spirit. And of all the emails I get sent, the only reason I opened it is because it was sent to me by someone I trust, that I know well, and she's sending something. She sends jokes, but not a lot. I went, this looks interesting.
Right.
Had it come from like an anonymous mailer or something else I'd signed up for, I'm like, yeah, but because of, and I was like looking at it, I'm like, oh, wow, I want to check this out. I wanted people to be able to know about you and at least have something on the website, because people love the video stuff. So, and it's sort of the sound bites, so that gives them a chance to sort of look at it.
Right.
Is there anything else you want to address?
No, I think we've covered everything. What I'd like people to do is just to come over and check us out.
Yep.
Come over and check us out. Well, there is another thing. If you're in a business and you're at that level and you feel like you've hit kind of, a glass ceiling,
Yeah.
you're looking for some personal coaching, that is my background, and I also provide that through the association.
Yep.
So we have some larger price products, such as one-to-one coaching. And so what I invite anybody to do that is at a place where they think, and they just want to inquire even, that they might be ready for a personal coaching relationship, I offer a free 30-minute complimentary, we call it, a strategy session. So you can, send me an email to anita@iaseconnect.com. Just put, I'd like the complimentary strategy session in the subject line or somewhere in the email, say I heard about it, and we'll set up a time. I send out a form. I ask you to, even before you get to the strategy session, to give me some information on your business, actually for you to think about your business,
Right.
and what you want to work on, because coaching's all about you actually know the answers for your business. My job is to ask the questions and pull it out of you.
Right.
And so we can create an action plan. So if that's something that interests you, please sign up for the free 30-minute, coaching session, and, send me the email, and we'll set it up through our system. And I have slots available for so many people. So, I invite people to do that also, and it's non-obligation. There has to be a match.
Yeah.
It's a personal relationship, and it's a bigger investment. And so what we do is we see if coaching is something that would help that help that particular person, and if I was the right coach for that person.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So then again, we've been speaking with Anita Pazicki, and her association that she is the founder and CEO of is the International Association of Spiritual Entrepreneurs, and there's all kinds of things happening. It is new, and it's coming out with all kinds of opportunities. And as the organization grows and people's needs become present, there's flexibility there to add things along. But I think you've got a really nice start. It just like I wish I had that when I was, I wish I had that when I was a kid. That was when I was starting out. So thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for asking me.
You're very welcome. And so give them the website one more time.
Okay. It is www.iaseconnect.com.
Yep.
And you can find us there, and all the emails are on there, the phone numbers. Any way you want to contact us is on the website.
Okay. And you've been listening to Psychic Street Smarts. I'm Catherine McDonald. We're on our usual Monday night on thatchannel.com. This show does go in podcast and is seen several times, my understanding, so you may see it on another night other than Monday, but we're here on a Monday night. You can also check me out at www.spiritualcat.com, and any information regarding me, contact will be available from there. Have a great night, folks.